All right, good morning, my man.
Hey,
Hey,
man.
look, I want to get right into it.
All right.
All right, first of all, it's on my mind because of all the crap that I'm seeing. And what I just saw yesterday and the other day. The other day, Marjorie Taylor Greene talking about she didn't read the bill. Then you got Mike Flood at a town hall telling this woman she breaks everything down. She has a question, tells everybody she only has 30 seconds. She brings up the provision and asks, why would you vote on that bill? And he says, I didn't know about that provision. Now, for me, I'm like, do your job. But you seem to have a different take on the approach to the provisions. And you also mentioned to me about something that Getz
Oh,
did,
oh,
something he did in the past.
Gates. Okay.
Yeah, Gates. Yeah,
Well,
Matt
well,
Gates.
well. I don't disagree with do your job, and I don't disagree with the notion that these people, whoever they are, who are
Mm-hmm.
voting, these congressmen, these House members, or senators, need to read and understand what they're voting on or against. So
Right.
I totally agree with you there. That is their job description, or a big part of their job description.
Right.
Okay. But this is symptomatic. I think it's a great example of why you were talking about Matt Gaetz. So Matt, one of the things, and I make it very clear that I'm
Mm-hmm.
quite happy that Matt Gaetz is no longer in Congress, and I've disagreed with almost anything or everything he's ever said, except for one thing I remember him saying, and it was during an on the floor debate on the House floor when he was trying to throw some shade on the Democrats, and he was talking about these big omnibus bills that has
Mm-hmm.
all this legislation that's packed inside of them, and that what they should be doing if they did their job responsibly is to vote on each of the provisions separately, and
Yeah.
that by using the omnibus, or the big beautiful bill, as Trump wants to call it, method of getting these things through the legislature or through the Congress, it makes for bad law. It's a
It
bad practice.
not only does it make for bad law, voting on each provision just makes common sense.
Sure.
They do that on HOA boards,
Right. Right.
to make sure everybody's on the same
Right.
page.
Right.
Yeah.
So you got things that slip through the cracks,
Right.
and it's done, and it's done intentionally, and hence you get these people that vote affirmatively uh, for laws in which either they didn't even realize they were in the bill, or they wouldn't have voted yes on had they known that well, if they had had a choice. Unfortunately, when you do and you stick it all together,
Mm-hmm.
and the majority of the bill is what you want to go through,
Right.
and you got these other little side provisions that you don't like, you end up voting usually for the whole thing. So you don't want to. So that what you want to pass will pass. And so that was a bad thing. As far as
Yeah.
Marjorie Taylor Greene and Flood, those are
Yeah.
they're knuckleheads, and I'm glad they embarrassed themselves publicly. But as I told you before,
Mm-hmm.
I just think that their biggest mistake was that they told the truth at the wrong time that time. So
Yeah, and to add to that, yeah, they told the truth, but this particular provision, they talked about it before it was signed.
yeah,
She knew about it, he knew about it, and the main reason that provision is in there so that the orange guy can do whatever he wants, and the courts can't hold him in contempt.
okay.
But the courts figured out a way around that. So, and more than likely that provision is going to be pulled. But the biggest thing, the debt ceiling, what this bill is going to do to the debt is insane. Why put a debt ceiling in place if you're saving so much money? If you're cutting it the proper way? Talk to me on that, man.
Well, I mean, we know why,
Yeah,
because Trump doesn't care anything about that stuff, and he is not a fiscally responsible person at all, and he's totally corrupted a party that I never was a part of or agreed with, usually for social issues rather than fiscal issues. But he has taken their identity and turned it on its head. I mean, absolutely. He wants to cut taxes on the wealthy and spend money on that will put money in the pockets of his donors or the people constituencies that have supported him. And
Right.
as a result, it's going to drive up the debt even more. It's just totally irresponsible on all counts. But that's what your guy Elon Musk, I guess, is saying too. So
Yeah, but Elon's calling them out for specific reasons about that bill. One thing is the EV mandate, getting rid of that. That right there kind of ticks him off. But also, there's stuff that led up to that behind the scenes. Doesn't Elon have a black eye right now?
Yeah.
Yeah. So him fighting with, I believe, which guy was it? The guy with was it the Treasury? Were they talking?
Well,
who were they fighting?
It wasn't Scott. Well, he probably fought Scott Besson. I don't know if they physically had an altercation, but maybe they did. I would be surprised if Scott Besson had a good, left hook. But I would. I don't know what happened when I saw that bruise on his face. Even though I know he's had confrontations with people in the cabinet, I just thought it was Elon. Got fucked up and fell down or something. I just thought it was one of those injuries. It looked to me more like one of those party injuries than a scuffle. But maybe they did. I mean, I don't want to. I don't want to sell Scott Besson short. Maybe he did do it.
And did Stephen Miller's wife start working for Elon Musk? She left Stephen Miller. Now she's with Musk.
Yeah. That's
Man, do you see how crazy, insane all of this is? I saw somebody the other day, and then I saw somebody today talking about the fight between Musk and Trump. And somebody said, don't let this fight between Musk and Trump distract you. I'm sitting there saying to myself, this is a part of the problem that we're having right now.
Yeah.
Their distraction was not a distraction. It's stupid and it's embarrassing that this is happening.
I think it's much more than that. And I agree that I would agree with your friend that it is a distraction, but it is also a demonstration, a symptom of part of the problem. I agree with you. It's everything you just said.
Well, explain to me how it's a distraction.
Here's and this is one of the things that's really bothered me since this story started. As I'd mentioned to you before, I think that the thing that needs to be focused on this bill the most, that is being left in the dust, is the tax cut. The tax cut is the thing that needs to be drilled into the heads of the American people as something that is doing serious damage, has done serious damage to us, and is going to do more damage with the way the money is going to be distributed in this bill. The tax cut needs to be removed. Now, why do I think it's a distraction? Because all I'm hearing about is this spat, these things, this Twitter war or truth war or social media war between Trump and Musk. Okay. Why do I think that's a distraction? Because another thing that I don't hear talked about enough is at first I thought it was performative. I'll admit, before yesterday's Twitter war, when Musk left the White House and then Trump had that press conference and he kind of went off, which actually precipitated the Twitter war, when he started saying how Elon wishes he was back in the Oval Office and he was all of this. I thought it was rather performative. I thought, okay, maybe these guys, because Trump is a reality show guy and Musk is just a nut. I thought, I wouldn't have put it past these guys to say, hey, let's just pretend we have a falling out. So these guys will all talk about how we're like going back and forth with each other. And then
they're not that smart, man.
But hold on, let me
Orange
finish.
guy ain't that smart.
But I don't think that they're not that smart. You're right.
No.
I don't believe that now. What was said, publicly, I don't think that that's the case. I think they were actually doing that. What bothers one of the biggest things that bothers me about that is that Elon Musk has access to. First thing, he's the richest man in the world. Let's put that on the table because it's very important. When you're the richest man on the planet, regardless of what time of what era of civilization you're talking about. Let's make that clear. Elon Musk can go to any country in the world and be welcomed. Anyone.
Yes,
Because of what he has.
yeah,
Anyone.
yeah.
He knows not just about Donald Trump and the Epstein files and all that. He knows about our national security secrets. I'm convinced about it. He knows enough of them because Doge had access to all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
So he can just say, you know what? Forget you, Donald Trump, and forget the United States of America. China, if I'm a Soviet agent or if I'm a Chinese agent, I'm calling Elon Musk now and saying,
come on here and have a good time.
I'm saying they're doing you wrong, dude. They're making you trying to clown you. We wouldn't do you like that.
Yeah, that's why I think the whole idea of the orange guy threatening to deport this fool, that's idiotic because of what you just said.
Right.
And just because of what you just said.
And so what I'm saying, we're talking about distraction. I've watched news reports since last night, all leading with the Epstein file comments and these little spats and all this stuff. The real story is that the president of the United States is publicly threatening the man who knows all of our information. That's what he's doing. And
you know what? That is
it's not
insane.
like he's like some hacker guy.
No.
This is the richest man on the planet who has the ability.
You gave him access to all of this.
He has the ability to take that information and do whatever and live wherever he wants to live. What are you doing? This is, to me, now it'll never happen, but you're talking about impeachable offenses. This dude has put us all in jeopardy behind some stupid shit.
And what you're saying is something that I thought about a way back. Not Christy Nome. Who's in Tulsi Gabbard? Yeah. You got Tulsi Gabbard in charge of intelligence.
Right.
Really?
Right.
She was working for Russia, doing consulting, repeating Russian talking points all the time.
Right.
Okay, you put her in charge. Look, sometimes a conspiracy theory becomes a theory because you start seeing things that kind of connect the dots on what you're talking about or what you thought you were talking about.
Right.
This whole thing about him being a Russian asset, Putin having information on him, the PP tape, all of that. Why can't we start looking at maybe that is the case?
Yeah.
Maybe that is what's happening.
Yeah.
Taking sides with Russia against Ukraine, all this stuff that he does just shows that he has a history that's being hidden.
Right.
By the people who can make it stay hidden.
Right.
And we're having to suffer from it. We're having to suffer from the idiot redheaders that believe everything he's doing is right. He got those guys blaming Obama for what happened in 9/11.
Yeah.
So the craziness here is not only what he's doing, but what the GOP is allowing to be done. The media, once again, is complicit in all of this because what you brought up, my man, they should be talking about the danger
they should be
that he poses.
All of that. There's more. See, like I told you earlier, there's more. Yeah. What else happened during that interchange? I'll tell you what else happened. Donald Trump openly said, I use government contracts to give them to my friends. We have been sold the bill of goods, apparently, that we need SpaceX and the private sector and all of these things to make the space program work. And all of the different companies that we help fund for Elon Musk. This is helping our country. Right. Donald Trump just openly said either one of two things. One, or all, or both of them. One, I use government contracts to manipulate people, to gain favor of people, or two, Elon Musk companies aren't special. We can get that from somewhere else. You know, to me, that's if anybody is reporting this correctly, in my opinion, they are talking about Donald Trump has not only put our national security in jeopardy, theoretically,
Yeah.
but he also has openly admitted that he's giving out these contracts to people that because he likes them.
Yeah.
That's not because we need that company and their technology, because he likes them.
And that's why he's getting rid of all these initiatives where
Right.
minority companies
Right.
get their share.
Right.
But they're pulling that out so they can give those contracts
Right.
to his friends, like you just stated.
So for all of those reasons, I think the drama, what I see being stressed, the drama and the reality television aspect of their disagreement on social media is what is leading, is what's being played up, which I think is just, it is a part of the story, but that is just evidence of two immature individuals who have way too much power. The story is that this guy is putting our country at risk because he's having a personality falling out with somebody who we've already got reporting is like on ketamine or on the spectrum or both. So it's just like I just don't understand why I don't really at this point.
I'm about to say, man, you can't understand why they will allow this self-destruction to happen.
Yeah.
The GOP could end this today. All they have to do is say enough is enough.
Right.
They'll have the votes in the House, and the senators are kind of like, you know what? I'm tired of this guy as well. And you made a point a couple of weeks ago talking about once they get this passed, maybe they'll start looking at getting rid of him. But the way I see it right now is that they're going to take out the provisions like the one we talked about. They may adjust the difference in terms of what they're giving in terms of a tax credit and the takeaways from Medicare and Medicaid. But the biggest thing you still have to realize about this bill transfers so much more wealth to the top 1-2%.
Right.
And it just takes away so much. All of these things that are supposed to help, they're adding these provisions in that basically sabotage those programs and put people in a bigger hole. Taking away food stamps. I mean, really.
But and here's where the other side, I hate to keep throwing mud on the Democrats, but on the Democrats or the other side, or the people who believe like I do, where we have fallen down, I'll even take some ownership of this, is what bothers me is that Trump and the conservative MAGA movement has been able to sell enough of the public on the idea that taking care of our poor, underprivileged, or citizens who haven't been able to take advantage of the American dream, as they say, is a weakness. It's a strength. In my assessment, it always has been. That's why people want to come to this country.
Right.
And Trump has been able to get people. Well, it started with Reagan. I would agree with it. It started with Reagan.
Yeah.
But this has snowballed to the point where you got people walking around thinking that somebody who lives in a shelter, who gets SNAP and doesn't work because they can't find a job or don't have the skills to work in today's workforce, are getting over on the government.
Yeah.
That is the worst. That is a terrible thing.
Yeah, they're always trying to say that you got people abusing the system, committing fraud within the system. They make all of these excuses, but a lot of that, once again, is sabotage. And if you're going to go after fraud, go after guys like Brett Favre. Go after the people with those PPP loans.
Right.
Let's be real here. And you're right. The Dems need to be focusing on talking about the tax cut, how it's going to hurt more. They got to go to the podcast use those podcasts that hit those people directly that need to be educated so they'll know how, yeah, he got you looking at possible drug dealers, gangs being a threat to you. But the threat is putting you in a position where you have less after this bill, where you have people that are not going to have jobs. You got to educate the people on all this.
Yeah, but you do have to educate them. But I don't think it's going to take. Not enough people who have larger platforms, I think, are saying it. That's the problem, because I don't think it takes much to figure out that or you can just show other countries and in governments around the world where they don't take care of their underprivileged the way we do, and show them what they're dealing with. Because I'll guarantee you, it's a bigger drag on our society. What seems to infuriate this MAGA base so much is, let's just say, there is an able-bodied person who decides they're not going to get a job. They're going to live on welfare. They're going to live in subsidized or some kind of housing, and they're going to get food stamps. If you saw the standard of living that you would get doing that you have to live on doing that, then having that person there doing that is much better and cheaper. I would suggest to you than having them incarcerated. That's going to be more expensive.
Yeah.
Or having them on the street, which is going to make things more dangerous in a lot of ways, health-wise included. There's just so many more benefits to taking care of underprivileged people in what is very humble settings. Then doing it the way that they're doing. They're trying to do it. I don't get that.
It's funny that you mentioned the part about, homeless. It's not funny about the homeless, right. But when you talked about homeless being on the street, and my wife last night, her and some work colleagues in Philadelphia, they're leaving the restaurant, very good food. She didn't tell me the name of the restaurant, but she said that they're walking and sitting on like a little bench area was a woman. Straight into her drugs, just mixing everything up, getting it all ready. And as my wife and her colleagues are walking by, one in particular said, what's going on? What's going on? She starts panicking.
Right.
She starts panicking. And then she's like, what's going on? And my wife is like, just keep walking. Just keep walking. But that's one of those things that you're talking about.
Right.
That was wild.
That's going to be the way it is. And then unfortunately, with this mindset that they have, what's going to happen is that soon they're going to say, okay, we can't have these people out here. We're going to have to clean them up. So they're going to arrest them all and incarcerate them and all that. That's going to cost more. That's going to cost more. And it seems that that MAGA world, which, from my perspective, it seems to be powered by hate. They really like to hurt people. For some reason, they seem like they're more excited about that person being punished for their whatever their situation is, rather than let's try to take care of these folks somehow and rescue a few of them.
Now, see, the main reason they hate them is because the right has them believing that person who's homeless and on the drugs makes your life worse.
Right.
That's why.
Right.
So when they're saying all of this and their orange leader has them hopping up and down.
Right.
And he talks about how they are just a stain on society. And don't forget about how he talks about these cities being sanctuary cities, allowing all these people to come from other places. They send the bad people, the people that are on drugs. That just gives them the talking point to say, see, he's right. Look at these people. Yeah. Look at these people. Yeah. And that's why they hate him, because they're taught to hate him. And they're listening to bogus advice, not bogus advice, bogus reports, Pam Bondi talking about they saved like 22 million lives with all the fentanyl that the orange guy has been getting.
Your DOJ agencies have seized more than 22 million fentanyl pills, 3,400 kilos of fentanyl since you've been your last 100 days, which saved, are you ready for this, media? 258 million lives.
340, 50 million people in this country.
Right.
Yeah. The ignorance, the stupidity, the humor. I mean, come on, man.
I mean, I don't know. As you, I hate using these words because they're bantered around so much, but that's what it is. The disinformation and the misinformation that they put out there it's just so, there's so much of it. It's hard to it's hard to fight against. But what you can do, what needs to be done in better by the Democrats and by people who don't think the way or don't buy into this story, is to let people know what's really going on out there, what the truth of the matter is, and it's not happening. It's not happening very well, and I can't say I'm real optimistic right now.
It seems that Musk is attacking him with tweets that the left can say, well, he's right about that. Mm-hmm. It seems as if he's attacking him online,
right,
in a manner with actual facts, staying away from the stuff that, Musk wants,
right,
but pointing out, because he has the database. You see all this stuff that he's bringing up, showing how you said this about the debt in the past, but now you're doing what you talked about.
Right.
Musk has all that data with X.
Right.
And he's hitting the orange guy with it.
Right.
The orange guy needs to chill out, because going back to what you said,
yeah,
that dude has all of our data and national security as well. If he's going to use what he has against you,
yeah, well,
kicking him out of the country.
Well, that's the
that's
the thing. Trump, I mean, he what Trump did is he picked the fight with in my assessment, the worst guy, not only for a country, but definitely for him. I never have really cared. First, I didn't know much about Elon Musk when he started coming into the public, view, and Tesla was on the rise and SpaceX was doing things. But I don't want to pretend like I have even a clue about what he may or do day to day or even hour to hour. But I do think that he is coming to, I think he is finding out what is so obvious, I think, to everybody, most people, but yet, Trump finds another sucker all the time, is that he aligned himself with the wrong group of people. And I never did understand, other than his South African roots and the fact that I do think he's a racist, what his attraction to Donald Trump and the MAGA whole movement thing was.
Well, we know that the orange guy is easily flattered.
Yeah.
Hillary said it. Kamala said it. The richest guy in the world coming up to you saying, hey, look, I'm going to put $250 million in a super PAC and make this happen for you. Also, I got some tricks that I can do to make sure we win all the swing states. And then he's flattering him. Yeah, I'm going to do this for you. Right. I'm going to do that for you. Right. That's what it is with him every time.
Right.
It's making him feel like he's, the most important kid in the world. He's a child. He's petty as fuck.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think it should, you see, Tesla stock dropping and their sales have been going down constantly. Actually, as far as that particular product is concerned, his market base were progressives. His market base was the left, and I thought that Trump, in order to keep him as an ally, would have been smart enough to keep that EV stuff in the bill.
Thank you.
And all of that.
Thank you.
But, if he wants to cut all of that off, fine. I will support Elon's fight against Trump, but I do not trust him in any other capacity. I do believe that, one of the things that attracted him to that MAGA base was his South African Nazi roots. I mean, I think,
Right.
I do believe that he is a white supremacist,
Yeah.
and even though I don't think he leads with that, I think that he, in his perfect world.
Well, he uses that. He uses that. That's another thing that helps the orange guy out.
Yeah.
So like the people that were bad people on both sides in Charlottesville,
Right.
it appeases to them. So that makes sure that hey, guess who he brought in helping him?
Right.
Elon. So, they got it, which I still can't understand how these people like Elon, but they're so pissed about electric vehicles. It's a love-hate relationship that they were having that eventually collapsed like a lot of people thought. And the main reason it collapsed is because they're both petty little kids fighting over who's going to be in charge.
Every day, I mean, I lose more and more faith in the media, in their ability to cover these things, these issues or these situations, without just getting into what is going to attract attention and clicks, and that's what bothers me. I mean, they don't. We've talked about it before. They don't do the follow up question because they don't want to upset the. I believe they don't want to upset the individual they're interviewing, because that particular depending on who the individual is, but if it's somebody who they know is going to get views or clicks, they want to be able to get them again.
They're not thinking properly, because think about this. Got somebody like Joy Reid. She gets fired because she's starting to present too much information that exposes the truth and things that weren't being reported. She gets fired. It's not like in the old days where she doesn't have an option for her to continue to get out there.
Right.
Start your podcast. You start your podcast.
Yeah.
You're gonna get all the people, all the fans that were following you on MSNBC. You're gonna have over 1 million subscribers, and you're probably putting out videos each day that are almost getting 500,000 views. You're doing that every day. So you're covering yourself financially,
Right.
but you're also staying true to yourself as a journalist and bringing people the truth.
Right.
That's why when I look at Roland, I look at the the Majority Report, I look at David Pakman, the Midas Touch. All of these are like, hey, look, we're going to bring the facts. We're trying to educate people on what's happening now. And they're not fighting with all of the knuckleheads that are just putting that misinformation out. They're doing what the DNC needs to do. And that's focus on just delivering the facts. You will bring people to you. And then with the DNC, they can put their money in and boost those particular podcasts that's going out. There are ways to do it that needs to be done. If people want to be upset with the Dems, be upset about that. That is something that they can do to begin educating people so that you can hold those assholes accountable. And I will make sure that everybody in Bumluck, Idaho, or where the hell am I at, Montana, I will make sure that they're getting this information as well. You got to fight it a different way.
You do. The only, it's not pushback, this is just a fact. The only thing about the internet that you're right, you can fire somebody. We'll use Joy as an example again. You can fire somebody and take them off of the major network, and they still, in today's world, you still have ways to get your message out, worldwide. Absolutely. I will still argue that those are better platforms to get the mainstream, CNN or something, or MSNBC or even Fox, or you can get a better middle platform than, say, on YouTube or some of the other things. The challenge again it's a challenge that we're facing, or we'll face, is that the only way somebody's going to see what we're talking about now is if they make a concerted effort to find it. Whereas if you're on a network or a cable, what they call cable, network, you're easier, there's better access, and it's more likely that your message will be heard. And that's all I'm saying.
I hear what you're saying. I hear you, but we don't have the resources to do that right now. So when I look at it, yeah, that would be great. That would be outstanding to take that approach, because you're right. But it's like my man said the other day, I'm tired of talking about we shall overcome. He said he needs some Luther Vandross here and now. So right now, here and now, when I look at the Midas Touch, once again, I look at David Pakman. I look at the Majority Report. I look at Midas Touch. Midas Touch started in 2020. And over the past 6 months, they are now the top podcast in the country, surpassing Joe Rogan. And they've stayed true to who they are. Now, if you're able to put money in to boost people like that, to boost that type of content, then you can start using that now to be a part of campaigning for 2026.
No, I totally agree with you. I mean, this is the way to reach him. I mean, many people, while I just spoke, elevated CNN and MSNBC and those other mainstream platforms, the way to reach, I agree with you, the way to disrupt that is to go through, these podcasts and on YouTube and, anything else that you can on the internet. I agree. That's the way you got to go. And that's the way the Democrats, or the left, definitely should go. I mean, many people are, including myself, have, even though I do still watch some cable news, I really tune it out. I almost hate watch it. I mean, I watch it just to kind of complain.
Me too, man. It frustrates me, man. It really does. I'm with you on that.
I just, to complain. Like I said, just to repeat, I do agree sort of with the sentiment of the person you spoke to who said that it was a distraction. I do agree with that. Just the way it's being reported, not the incident, not the substance of what's actually happening, but the way it's being reported as this. Ooh, did you see that? What they were saying? This is wild. That's the distraction to me.
Yeah, it needs to be reported based on this is how what they're doing could affect us. That's what they need. They need to be talking about that.
I mean, look, if Vladimir Putin was having a Twitter beef with one of the main oligarchs in Russia, who's had access to all of their classified information, I don't think we'd be looking at it like, ooh, Putin and this other guy, Sergey, they were really going at it. Wow, they fell out. No, it would be like, this is serious. I mean, we look at it in a more serious light, like our adversaries are looking at it right now. We're very vulnerable. As far as, I don't know what the reality of it is, but I do know, like I said, if I am working for an adversary to the United States, I'm trying to get to Elon Musk right now. I'm trying to
big time. And that's why deporting him is not a good idea. And there are people that are looking at, get rid of Elon too. And they're not thinking the way you and I are thinking.
Because Trump has made this like freaking the housewives of freaking
the housewives of the world, the housewives of the universe. That's what we're watching, and it's like you said, it's dangerous. So once again, trying to get to people to see that is hard, especially when you have all of these major networks just having these sit down sessions and these, like with Abby Phillips on CNN. I told her, brother, I don't like her. I don't like Kristen Welk. I don't like what they're doing. And he said, well, man, they're just trying to do their job. I said, I'm tired of hearing people talking about They're just trying to do their job. Them just trying to do their job is keeping people from being informed. Because honestly, if I was in Abby Phillips' spot, I would tell Scott Jenkins, I said, look, Scott, I'm not having any bullshit tonight. You say some other bullshit, I'm going to have them to go to commercial break. And when they come back, you're not going to be here.
Right.
But not only that, during the commercial break, nobody's going to know what happened or how you got out of here, basically. I mean, I would call in the security guards and say, look, get them out of here. We're not dealing with that. We're not having that anymore because too many people are suffering.
Right.
When you look at this bill and you look at all the people that are going to suffer, it for me, I'm a humanist. It hurts me. And like I was talking about the Job Corps the other day, all of those people that are losing their jobs. And then you talk about Medicaid and you have people like Senator Ernst. She told everybody, well, we're all going to die. You know, that their whole mindset, the GOP about this bill is basically, I don't give a fuck.
Right.
And people are not getting it.
I also wanted to talk about Kristi Noem for a second.
Go for it, my man.
Did you see
Go for it.
Did you see her when she was on, this was about a week ago, actually, about 2 weeks ago, when she was in front of Congress and she didn't know.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah.
Didn't know what habeas corpus was?
Yeah. Now, she said that habeas corpus is basically that the president can do what he wants. She says some crap like that.
No, I have it here. I'm going to read it to you. She said,
well, habeas corpus is a constitutional right that the president has to be able to remove people from this country and suspend their right to.
Let me stop you, ma'am. Habeas corpus, excuse me, that's incorrect.
President
Habeas
Lincoln
corpus,
used it.
Excuse me. Habeas corpus is the legal principle that requires that the government provide a public reason for detaining and imprisoning people. If not for that protection, the government could simply arrest people, including American citizens, and hold them indefinitely for no reason.
And there was like nothing. I mean, it was a story. You saw it. I saw it. It was a story that was reported. But the reason I bring it up again, because after I saw what was going on with this Musk thing and my concern for national security thing, I was like, let me look back at some of these other stuff. And I'm talking about Kristi Noem thing. The fact that the director of Homeland Security doesn't know what habeas corpus is. Habeas corpus is man, if you watch Perry Mason, you'll know what habeas corpus is.
I'm going to say, you watch CSI, you watch any current Law and Order, you know what habeas.
Yeah.
Look, even his people at the Red Hatters, they know what habeas corpus is.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. So I'm just like, we're not hearing, like you were saying, about fiscal responsibility. Okay. They're supposed to be the party of fiscal responsibility. Supposed to be the party of law enforcement. They're supposed to be the party of the military. All of these things and national security and all that. And we're seeing every day just incompetence and lack of knowledge about all these areas. And there's nothing. We're hearing nothing from the GOP. These are the things that need to be like highlighted. That like, look, y'all, and not in a condescending way, even though I do want to call. There's the petty part of me that wants to call all Trump supporters stupid and that you're dumb and all that. But instead, maybe you just say, look, I know you didn't vote for this, although they did. But I know y'all didn't vote for this stuff because this is like the opposite of everything they said.
And they don't see it, though, because if they hear from somebody like you or me or somebody that we know is going to bring them the facts, the few credible people that are in legacy media, as soon as they hear Fox, and Fox said that is not the case, and they put the lie out there, they're like, oh, I knew he wouldn't betray us with something like that. Oh, right. So you can't get that across. The Dems can push that message all day long. Because think about this. Noam, she isn't qualified. Hegseth, he isn't qualified. Patel, he isn't qualified. None of those people are qualified. And what they are doing in those positions, like you said, makes us vulnerable. And not only that, with this orange dude pardoning all of those people from not 9/11, but January the 6th. Now you got some of those people working with ICE.
Yeah.
Been deputized by ICE.
Yeah.
That right there, my man, is like, okay, you don't want the gang members and all that, but you're creating your own Gestapo.
Yeah. And pardoning people who have just made a farce of law enforcement. Yeah. You know, like the guy who's giving away badges, sheriff badges for money. You know,
that's insane.
It's a farce. So, I don't know. I don't know what the line is. I guess there's not a line.
There is no line. First of all, they knew these guys. They knew they weren't qualified. Well, but the Senate, they just went ahead and voted for them anyway. I mean, damn, you want them in there, put in some people that are qualified that would, but that's right. People with common sense and all that aren't going to allow him to do what he wants to do.
The only thing I'm telling, see, this is where they really get upset at me. And I try to say the only thing that makes sense to me, because it doesn't make sense. And what else doesn't make sense? Hate and racism doesn't make sense. Okay.
Right.
This, to me, if you told me we're doing all of this in the name of white supremacy and, you know, and we're going to, and male dominance. If we're doing this all in white supremacy and male dominance, then I'd say, now
okay,
it's clear.
I get it. I get that makes sense. Yeah, that makes sense.
Any of the explanations they're giving us, nothing else makes sense. So when I talk to these supporters, these people that want to continue to support this agenda, and I ask them to make it make sense, they cannot do it unless you go with the route I just said. It makes perfect sense that way. What makes sense? Does it make? Okay, this is the other thing that got me. This happened this week when they changed the name of the USS Harvey Milk. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. My thing is this: Harvey Milk. If you want to talk about somebody who is a perfect example of using a system of democracy the right way. He is that.
He's a guy.
He's the guy.
He's a guy.
He's a gay man living in San Francisco, a veteran also. Oh, by the way. So don't make it sound like he's just some kind of radical left guy living off the land. He was living in San Francisco, thought the people he associates, his community, the gay community, was being oppressed by their laws. So he ran for city council. Didn't win the first time, ran several times, finally won, and helped pass legislation through a democratic process. This guy is a great example of what we're all about as a country.
Right.
You know, and I'm just like, I understand why Headset did it. I understand that they're like, oh, this guy's a gay guy. We don't want him on there. We don't want, he's a gay hero. We don't want him on the ship. Just like they're trying to get rid of all the other black names and everything else, because that's all DEI. Because if you're not a white man, then you guess everything else is just DEI.
They don't want inclusion because they don't want to give up their jobs. That's what it is. Inclusion hurts them. But
it just really, and so with just that kind of stuff, just really bugs me because it's like everything that they wrap themselves around. This whole democracy and the flag and all that, they just do the opposite of that. They undermined it. And it's
look, they're running the Project 2025 playbook. And in doing so, they do things like this with Harvey Milk, taking his name away from that warship. But in doing so, now you got people looking up who is Harvey Milk. You got kids wondering what he did. And you're doing it during Pride Month.
Yeah.
So all you're doing right now is making everybody realize how this government really ain't about supporting you, which I think plays into our hands. I think people should talk about who he was and why we are fighting still for those rights today.
Yeah.
I think that's something that should be used the proper way.
Right.
And what I mean by the proper way, letting people know, talk about it.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Well,
My daughter asked who was Harvey Milk.
okay.
So, and Sean Penn, he did a good job.
Yeah. No, that's a good.
Yeah, he did a good job, and my daughter's in theater.
Okay.
So they had the Cappy Awards the other night over at the Eisenhower Theater, which is in the Kennedy Center. And there's no gold in there yet, but many of these kids are very, very sympathetic because many of them are gay.
Mm-hmm.
One particular winner last year identified as a man.
Mm-hmm.
This year, she won the award, identified as a woman.
Okay.
One of the awards.
Okay.
But these kids are extremely talented and extremely, and I mean, very, very smart.
Right.
So when, my daughter asked me that, this is something that other people in her circle, these people, these artists are talking about because they're looking at the people who help them, the people that they work with, their friends. They see them trying to get rid of a guy who fought for them.
Right.
And what that did, what Hayes said did, was just gave us a big history lesson this month and brought on more people to see why the crap that they do. It's just insane. But we're going to go ahead and hang up for the day. Keep rocking and rolling. I'm going to drop some of these clips. Go back and check the clips. I'm sorry, I'm a little stuffed today. Allergies are killing me. Once you think everything's gone, I'm like, I said, it's supposed to be June. I shouldn't be dealing with this. But anyway, this is yours truly with my man Howard. We're out.
All right.
Talk to
Take
you
care.
soon.
Peace.